As his eyes slowly opened, a flood of sharp memories from his past clashed with the confusion in his mind, revealing that he was sprawled on a rooftop with a pounding headache and a foul smell in the air. Looking down, he saw a terrifying sight of crowds moving with eerie stiffness below, and as he realized they had turned into zombies, he shouted in horror while frantically searching his pockets for a phone to call for help. Finding only a small packet of peanuts he had bought at the supermarket earlier, he sighed with despair, knowing this was all he had left and that he might as well just die after finishing it. As he wished he had a girlfriend before this happened, the rooftop door suddenly creaked open and a girl in shorts and a t-shirt stepped out. His heart leaped as he peeked out, realizing the zombies were already upstairs and he was doomed, only for the girl to shockingly stab a water tank to drench herself and start washing, leaving him baffled and mesmerized as he wondered how a zombie could look this sexy, causing him to accidentally make a noise that made her instantly turn, sprint at him, slap him hard, point a gun at his head, and force him to talk while he begged for his life. She angrily demanded to know his identity, but as he whispered his name, his eyes drifted down to her legs, prompting him to secretly think that the view was amazing, only for his sentient chicken friend to suddenly warn him of an attack from outside and urge them to fight before she lunged at him with a weapon while a zombie jumped out from behind. She dodged quickly, but the zombie didn't stop. Instead, it charged straight into Xiang and started beating him up, causing him to scream in pain while begging it to stop hitting his junk until a dagger flew through the air and stabbed the zombie right in the eye. After she threw the object, the zombie swung its rage at her, but with its eyes hurt, it could only swing blindly. So she used her wrist saw to slice off its arm before swiftly beheading it while Xiang shouted a warning. She said the zombie cores looked great, but Xiang was so scared he couldn't move, while the girl groaned at her dirty clothes after she'd just washed them. She turned to him and demanded to know which side he was on, repeating her question while he stood too stunned to answer. Thinking the whole thing was a horror movie nightmare, he convinced himself that sleep would fix everything, but when he reached for his peanuts, the girl snatched the bag and demanded his identity, pressing a saw to his neck until the dream turned terrifyingly real, and he begged for mercy by introducing himself as just Xiang, a normal guy who bought his favorite snacks from a supermarket, only for a sniper to shoot her in the leg, causing it to swell as she muttered about mutated zombies chasing her while a distant sniper smirked, knowing his toxin-laced bullet was slowly draining her life. The bullet was poisoned with deadly corpse toxin, and she warned that even though she had fought zombies before, this new toxin was far worse and likely fatal. So she identified the 17 faction attackers as hunters of the very zombie core she had saved, telling Xiang that if they were caught, they were dead. When Xiang asked what to do, she offered to hold off the attackers while he escaped, explaining that only the incredibly rare medicine penicillin could cure the toxin. But since she couldn't run, she would soon turn into a zombie, and then he would be next. She made a deal. She would help him get away on the condition that he find her sister and tell her to run as far as possible, because the 17th faction would not spare her. And when he asked about the medicine, she confirmed it was the only thing that worked, but emphasized how impossible it was to find such a rare drug. She promised to fire her gun to create Xiang sprinted with a heavy heart since she had just saved him, and he couldn't bear to leave her alone, yet he desperately wished he could trade his current reality for the easy days of his old world where medicine was plentiful. Then a mysterious system announced a dimensional shift to the Gulf, promising a return trip upon request, which made him instantly decide to go back, only to wake up in a hospital bed while a doctor spoke with a man whose legs had healed, all while Xiang frantically shouted for penicillin, unaware that the girl he cared for was dying on the rooftop, and silently begged him to visit her sister one last time. Their boss gave the signal for his men to charge and grab their loot, while at the same time a nurse yelled at Chiron for sprinting down the hall, only for him to snatch a bottle of penicillin, scream dimensional shift, and vanish right back into the ruined world. He rushed over to the girl and said, "Not dead." "Huh? Good, you're alive." But she stared at him like he was crazy, confused by why he'd returned and how he even got that penicillin. Chiron just said he'd gone to get it and told her not to ask questions, promising that the penicillin was real, that she wouldn't die, and that they'd both walk away alive before handing her the capsule and watching her swallow it. Chiron asked how she felt, and she answered that the swelling was dropping and the toxins were fading, calling the penicillin unbelievable and wondering what kind of drug it was, until a knock at the door made her eyes widen and her mind race to hide Chiron by shoving him through a hole in the roof where he landed on a bed below, only for him to groan about his back while the door opened and the sniper with his men entered looking for the girl, who stepped forward defiantly to say she was about to come looking for them instead, leaving the men frozen in shock and panic. They spun around and sprinted downstairs, leaving Chiron on the bed to finally relax and pick up a nearby diary he scoffed at as silly adult nonsense, only to find that the strange entries about a perfect day, a beautiful curly-haired neighbor, and a new fitness-obsessed manager were followed by a terrifying turn of events where the rumors of an virus outbreak came true, turning his new crush into a threat and locking him inside his room. On July 24th, the virus had hit most of the city and eaten up the last of the food supplies, leaving the writer to make desperate calls for help that went unanswered. And by July 25th, having reached his breaking point, he finally smashed the lock and stepped out into the dark city to find something to eat before he starved to death. From the supermarket to the pharmacy, people were fighting each other fiercely just to grab the supplies they needed. Everyone had given up on each other on that rainy August 3rd when the TV signal died, just days after the anchor warned that rescue was gone and called humanity's spirit unbreakable, a claim the narrator found silly, until the food ran out on the 17th, leaving him alone with only tap water while infected swarms guarded the door and the painful thought of being bitten. All while he missed his manager's daily broadcast until the scream came. Warren yelled for his husband to stop and ask what he wanted, but when he realized the curly-haired woman across the street was the one he was shouting at, he panicked because his yelling had already drawn zombies, and then he watched in horror as his husband stabbed her and began to eat her. After 4 days without food, the writer was so starved he almost died, until a visitor knocked on his door asking for penicillin and gave him a huge amount of food in return, which the writer realized was the miracle cure that saved his life. On August 21st, he spotted someone on a balcony munching on a dead zombie and couldn't believe anyone could stand to eat something so gross, wondering if it was even fit to be food. It was a zombie core. On August 30th, Monster stole all the life-saving penicillin from his cabinet, leaving him furious and desperate. So on September 1st, he marched out of his prison room into a world crawling with the infected, clutching a knife and writing in his diary that he was ready to fight or starve until he found food, while Chiron read on to discover that in this broken world where most people had turned into flesh-eating zombies, his penicillin was worth more than gold, and he could still buy it easily. To him, that meant he'd found treasure, but right then the sniper boy burst in, shocked that Chiron actually had a whole box of penicillin, which explained why the girl was still alive. Chiron quickly shouted, "Wait, I have more," just as the girl burst into the room to stop them from shooting, only for the sniper to snarl and warn her to stay back or he'd kill Chiron. Whereupon she retorted by threatening to blow his head off in a second if he dared to fire. As the noise outside grew louder, the sniper realized the battle had drawn a massive horde of zombies and urgently ordered his team to release Chiron so they could try to escape before everyone died. But she insisted the distance was safe and commanded them to let him go, which made the furious sniper growl and punch Chiron in her, while a boy with a special weapon threatened to turn him into zombie food next time they met. And though Chiron lay quietly on her chest, she sighed and asked how long he planned to stay asleep, noting that they should have left the zombie-filled streets long ago and suggesting they rest, before she questioned Shurong about his identity and how he had access to rare items like peanuts and penicillin, causing him to decide to bluff with an excuse since telling the truth could be dangerous. He quietly slid a bottle of penicillin toward her and said, "Here," and she instantly recognized it, shocked to learn the whole box was a gift meant as payment for saving her earlier. "If you agree to stay by my side and protect me, there will be plenty of benefits for you," she added, asking if they should make a deal. Shang asked if she was serious, and upon her nod, he encouraged her not to be shy, telling her to take the penicillin since it wasn't even the best thing he could offer. She raised an eyebrow as he proudly listed an entire feast of delicacies, including steamed lamb, roasted duck, soy sauce chicken, beef jerky, and assorted vegetable platters, but she abruptly stopped him, refusing to protect anyone who might belong to an enemy faction. He reassured her that he belonged to no faction, joking that she could just see him as a pampered, pretty boy from a utopian world. Eating them gave instant energy and nutrition, while evolutionary potions came in 3 grades, and zombie cores could be linked 1 by 1, 3 by 3, or 9 by 9 to form power arrays that unlocked their full strength. In this ruined world where zombie cores were the main currency, the mutated RV virus had become unstoppable against most medicines, leaving only the rare penicillin as a precious cure, while survivors had regrouped into tribal-like groups across 3 local factions in Shingsu, with the vicious 17th gang from Yuzu attacking them for resources and violence, forcing Shurong to admit he was a burden and agreeing to find a safe place to rest for the night. She told him to rest while she stayed awake, and though Shang couldn't imagine looking at her calm face that she was such a tough survivor, he quickly asked the Empress system to send him back to the 21st century. But when he woke up, a heavy weight pressed on him, and as a girl leaned over to ask if he was awake, he struggled and begged her to get off, only for her to chuckle and tell him to be gentle before he realized who it was. Shurong's landlord was so shocked when she arrived that he asked why she was there, and she explained that a crazy man had knocked him out, but the doctor said he'd be fine soon, She added that she was lucky to be his emergency contact because otherwise no one would have paid his hospital bill. So when he asked when she'd set that up, she changed the subject and offered to feed him, teasing him as he asked, "Feed me?" That she meant cooking noodles for him, and since he had no essentials, she'd go downstairs to buy some while he wrote a list of what he needed. After she left, Shurong examined his new system, noticing that just thinking its name made the interface appear with simple tools like shifting dimensions, getting stronger, and storage, and he wondered how to activate the power-up since it needed a charge. Then his landlord Luashi returned complaining she was exhausted, and while Shang offered to help carry her things, she told him not to move, thinking about the Emperor's power to jump between worlds. He suddenly saw a way to get rich. Just as the hospital door swung open and Uncle Shirao walked in, ignoring Lashy's frown and her reminder that she was there on her own to bring her for dinner, as her father had ordered. Luashi said no because she was busy, but Uncle Shia insisted it was her father's direct order, so she begged him not to push her while he told Shurong to wait downstairs. Shurong asked what he was planning, but Uncle Shia just waved him off and sent him away. Once Luashi left, Uncle Shia stepped right up to Shurong and reminded him that they had already settled things, asking why Shurong still hung on to Luashi since the money Uncle Shia gave him should have been enough, and if he needed more, he should just say so instead of acting high and mighty, because the gap between them was too big and Luashi's father would never let them be together. But Shurong shot back that things would change if he became very rich. The man sharply cut him off, noting that every dog has its day, though judging by Shurong's life so far, he'd likely never amount to anything. Meanwhile, in the apocalypse world, Yin nudged Shurong awake, and upon opening his eyes to her words about daybreak being the time to move, he learned they'd need about an hour to reach the base before they sprinted through an alley, where an exhausted Shurong soon announced their arrival, revealing a hidden door behind a stone-throwing trick that led to her sister, Rue, who was also infected, prompting Yin to exclaim that she had brought back the penicillin. Yin told her to take the medicine and promised that she would feel better soon. Sheng wondered if that girl was truly his sister and asked what had become of her, while Yin explained that her sister had been scratched by a zombie after going out the day before to hunt mutants for their cores to make medicine, only to be ambushed by the 17th faction. Her sister worriedly asked if Yin had gotten hurt in the attack. Yin told her sister she was okay because a friend had given her the penicillin that saved her life the day before. And while her sister thanked Shurang for being a lifesaver, he just smiled, saying that 2 girls surviving this long in such a place was already a miracle. Yin brought Shurong some food to eat after his long day of running, but the moment he took a bite, he felt so sick he threw it up, even though Yin insisted it didn't taste bad to her. Shurong asked if this was their usual food, and, seeing him praise so dramatically, wondered if it was really that bad. But he said no, claiming he just felt sorry for them, and told them to stop eating this trash and wait a moment before Yin asked why he wouldn't eat what she had gathered from the sewers with so much trouble. So he pulled something from his pocket, told them to try this instead, opened the package, and placed a small candy into Yun's mouth. At first she jumped back, but then her eyes grew wide with wonder as she gasped at the rich, milky scent and sweet, cooling taste. Shurong asked if she was all right about freezing up, then told her he'd given her a creamy white rabbit candy, which made her happily say yummy, immediately open her mouth for more, grab his fingers along with the treat, and then, even when he shouted that his hand was in her mouth, keep biting every piece off his fingers without stopping. Then she asked for more, so Shurong gave her a handful, and as she rushed her sister to share them, the sister tried one and was amazed, asking what the treat was, only for Yin to explain it was a delicious white rabbit cream candy Shurong had given her. Her sister was so thankful to still be breathing. Yin urged her to eat slowly because there was still plenty left, and Chang felt deeply moved by the sister's happy meal, though their hardship still weighed on his heart. After pulling out a mountain of modern food and promising it was all theirs, Yin handed Shiren a bag of zombie cores she'd saved, explaining that his earlier gift had saved her life and that these cores were far less valuable than his kindness, just as Shiren's burning mark on his hand seemed to react to the cores he held, before he quickly dashed off to use the surprisingly deep and ancient-looking squat toilet nearby. Sitting alone, he thought, since no one is here, I might as well figure out what a zombie core really is, so he took one out, and instantly his arm burned as it dissolved into light and vanished into him, triggering a system message that said his power-up was successful and that his ability to shift dimensions had jumped by 2, bringing his total to 3, which made him realize that power-ups were meant to boost his shifting, so he decided to keep going until 23 cores rolled down. The toilet and his dimensional shift count climbed all the way 9. Feeling satisfied, he decided 9 was enough, but when he checked the bag, he froze. Where's my zombie core? I had a whole bag just moments ago, but now only 2 remain. He stared at the toilet in horror, wondering aloud if something terrible had happened, while Shurong emerged looking like a lost spirit. When Yin asked what was wrong, Shurong quickly mumbled that it was nothing, just a bit of constipation, before Yun announced that it was finally time to eat. Shiren wondered aloud why she kept eating that gross sewer grub when he'd already given them more than enough. She said she couldn't eat all that precious food she'd gathered from the sewers with so much effort, so she couldn't just throw it away. Shurong promised more food, but she looked puzzled since he had already given them everything. So he worried it would seem strange to pull out even more from his secret stash, especially since what they had now wouldn't last the three of them more than a couple of days, and he needed to go back for supplies anyway, until Yun surprised him by revealing she was a merchant who delivered food every few days, which left him stunned and wondering why she hadn't trusted him enough to mention it sooner. So after she admitted her lack of trust, he declared he'd go out tomorrow to pick up the goods and bring back plenty of food, but I stopped him and handed him a tiny handgun, telling him that its small size didn't matter because it was a deadly assassin's weapon he should keep handy just in case. And when Shurong asked if he was going alone or if she wanted to come with him, the moment felt full of new possibilities. He shook his head, promised he'd be okay, asked her to wait for him to come back, and then closed the door. Just then, her sister Rua woke up to call Yun, and after confirming her walk was possible thanks to Shurong's medicine, Yun had Rua quietly follow Shurang to investigate his suspicious new behavior before Shurong confirmed the tracking was off and returned to the hospital. As soon as he opened his eyes, he knew he had to go because the hospital bills were piling up while he had no money. So he stepped outside and saw his own sad face staring back in a car. Realizing that after months of being unemployed with almost no savings left, he wasn't the rich man he once dreamed of, but just another broke loser. Still, he decided to gather supplies that would be life-saving in the apocalypse, since food and medicine were worth more than gold, though he had no safe way to sell them because the 17th faction would just rob and kill anyone who tried. Determined to help, Shurong bought a huge amount of food, paid the cashier 50 yuan after thinking of Yun's struggle against the zombies, and felt he finally needed to do more. He packed his extra clothes and kept his shifts to a bare minimum to save power, silently fuming over the expensive toilet that had drained his funds, while exhausted Shurang vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving puzzled Rua to wonder if her tracking was truly so bad before she settled in at a high vantage point to wait for him to return. Just then, Shang showed up again with a huge pile of boxes, complaining to himself that they needed to move everything before anyone got suspicious. But then he froze, realizing the place he thought was empty and locked off was now crawling with monsters. He wondered what was happening and why so many more zombies had suddenly appeared. He shouted for Yinu to save him, realizing he couldn't break through the swarm and needing to shift again. But before he could, a zombie lunged at him from behind while his purchased packages scattered and spilled their contents. Shurong barely dodged the attack and found himself dangling from a rope with zombies crashing down below him. But when he shouted Dimensional Shift, his passive skill, Quick Climb, triggered instead, leaving him in a panic. He desperately needed to shift dimensions instead of dealing with this chaos. But as a new panel suddenly appeared, he realized he had 7 skill points to spend on upgrades that got twice as expensive each time, and despite groaning at the ridiculous system, he immediately activated Quick Climb twice for only 3 points, making him feel so strong and light that he could hold his own weight with one hand while carrying all his gear, exclaiming how awesome it felt as he effortlessly gripped the cable and declared he could walk on the wire like it was flat ground before excitedly pulling off several Spider-Man moves that left Rura stunned on the rooftop, changing her view of him from fragile, ordinary person to something unbelievable, confirming that Yun had been right all along since Xiong landed safely. Noted that the original path was blocked by zombies. Spotted a tall building ahead for a better view to plan his escape. Climbed the wall with ease while wondering if more skills were hidden, and midway up peered, "Catch me if you can." He laughed. But his mockery turned deadly as the window exploded and he plummeted into the horde, only to snap a zombie's neck with his bare hands before gasping in pure terror. What is this? Has my grip strength become so strong that I can snap a zombie's neck directly? Another zombie lunged, and he killed it just as fast, but there were too many, and even his iron arm wasn't enough. He leapt out of the room and grabbed onto another window, while zombies tumbled out after him. Panting, he sighed in relief. That was close. One scratch, and I'd be dead. In this world, you can't afford to show off too much. Then he realized he felt lighter, checked behind him, and saw his bag was gone, having fallen into the zombies below. He cried out in horror, "Where's my bag? I climbed all the way here for nothing, and now I even lost my supplies." He gritted his teeth in frustration, realizing he had spent all his remaining cash on this haul. "No way," he declared. "That's my startup capital for getting rich. I must get it back one by one." The zombies fell until the last one hit the ground and silence returned, leaving Chang's arms sore from hitting so many that he declared them easy to defeat, only for a red shadow to suddenly flash behind him. Or perhaps he was just dreaming it all up. Suddenly, a huge zombie leaped right at him. But Chiron tried to run through the door, and the beast's attack slammed him hard against the wall. Pain ripped through his shoulders as the creature, far faster than any normal zombie, shocked him with moves he couldn't predict. Though he briefly thought about returning to the modern world, he knew it would just drop him back in the same spot, wasting his skill points. So he muttered, "Damn, no time," and decided to go all in by activating the system to spend every last zombie core and skill point, which instantly surged his quick climb to level 6 and unlocked 2 new skills. With fearless focus and steady footing, he could finally see the creature's moves, dodging its strikes, just barely, even though it clung to him no matter how fast he ran. He pushed his fading strength to the limit because slowing down meant death. So when he hit a concrete wall, he slammed a giant wooden beam right through the monster's shoulder to its spine, only to find it still moving, which made him shout in frustration before he finally killed it, saved its core, and amazed Rua by proving he fought as well as she did. Xiong finally made it to the bunker and excitedly called out to Yun's younger sister, boasting about the amazing things he'd found and promising to blow her mind. Shurang stopped in his tracks and asked what she meant by you and me bathing together, but she was already undressing and said they had to save water. While inside the bathroom, Rua called for him to hurry up and asked why he was taking so long. Shurong hesitated and worried that Yun's older sister would kill him if she found out, but Rua dismissed his fear, saying Yun wouldn't get mad since they normally bathe together anyway, urging him to stop wasting time, and though Shurang thought to himself, "Is this really how it's supposed to be?" before deciding to respectfully comply and saying aloud, "I'm coming in," he took a step forward only for Yun to suddenly appear, sharply grab him by the ear, and order him to stop, accusing him of trying to see her sister naked. Shurong panicked and flatly denied it, claiming he'd suffered from awful visions since childhood to the point that his supposed 8,000-degree nearsightedness meant he couldn't even see his own uncle standing right in front of him. So he quickly changed the subject by stepping out of the bathroom to proudly show off his haul, claiming they had enough supplies to last for days and even bringing fruit for a balanced diet, which made Yun look surprised when she spotted the bananas. Shurang offered her a banana and told her not to be shy, then playfully pushed it into her mouth. She licked it once, bit into it, and cried out how sweet and delicious it was before glancing at his face and asking what was wrong, to which he quietly replied that he needed to savor the moment a little longer. Rua said the huge amount of food felt like a dream, and Yuan turned to Shurang to ask if he really meant to give away all these precious supplies. Chiron confirmed their value but promised he wouldn't let them down if they protected him, while Yun resolved to keep her word despite her past failure to help Shurong when he was in danger. And Shurong admitted his savings only covered one more supply run, forcing him to find money fast and reminding himself he still needed a zombie core for dimensional shift points and had no skill points left. Yin asked if money even mattered since it was just worthless scrap, but Chiron clarified he meant real gold and treasures for his trade. So Yun and Rua stood up and stared at each other before Yun grabbed a gold bar she'd been using to prop the table and asked Shurang if that was what he meant. Shurong stared at the gold bars Yun handed him, dreaming of sudden riches, only to wake up facing a silent knife in the dark, while Yun stood between his life and Rua's cold revenge, arguing that they couldn't repay Shurong's mercy after he saved them, even as Rua reminded her of the cruel past, where a traitor wiped out their whole family and left only the 2 sisters alive. Rua admitted that if Yun hadn't stopped her earlier, she would have gouged out Shurong's eyes, but Yun insisted Shurong wasn't a traitor because he once gave his rare penicillin to them despite its value, proving his good heart, just as Chiron woke up to find the sisters whispering before Rua quickly claimed she wanted to sleep with him, only for Yun to demand to sleep next to him as well, forcing Shurong to lie between the 2 beauties while Rua tried to grab her knife again before Yun kicked it away, causing Rua to fall awkwardly on top of Shurong, who reminded her they couldn't do anything with the sister present, but Yun stubbornly declared she would protect Chiron by sleeping beside him every night, a plan Chiron agreed to for safety, and later when Rua asked Chiron if he was an evolved one, Shurong pretended not to know what that meant while insisting he was just a regular handsome guy. Before asking how he escaped, Shurong nervously asked how she knew, so Rua told her she had a sharp nose and could smell the building on him when he returned yesterday, adding that only the strongest survivors could live there, which meant Chiron must be quite amazing. Thinking fast, he invented a tale about getting lost and narrowly escaping zombies thanks to his gun, then pretended to be humble about his special system before Yun invited him to practice shooting, only to find his aim was all wrong, so she stepped in to fix his grip and teach him how to relax and focus until he finally hit the target and unlocked a new weapon skill, leaving him with just enough skill points to save for returning home, while he eagerly asked if she knew where to buy more zombie cores at the nearby trading post, so they set off together. An old guard sat with a gun aimed at them and said, "Come in, So Yin casually greeted him by calling him Old Garlic, teasing him for being jumpy and still scared of zombies, while the old man quickly retorted that he feared humans, not zombies, before asking what they wanted to trade. Shurong asked if he had any zombie cores, and after the old man questioned what he could offer in return, Shurong placed several packets of spaghetti on the table, which made the old man's eyes widen with excitement. But Shurong quickly reminded him to first show the cores before trading. I showed you my entire stash of just 11 zombie cores, and while fresh meat is worth 4 cores elsewhere and mutated meat gives 2, your offer to trade 3 cans for 1 core leaves me 1 short. So I'll make it up next time. But Chiron shook his head and said no. He told the old man to keep the missing core and promised extra cans if he'd help him gather the rare metal, which the old man identified as not being gold. But Shurong insisted it was valuable and offered to trade food for whatever the old man could find, which the old man accepted as long as Shurong stopped asking why he needed it. After using the zombie cores to power up his system and earn 4 points, Chiron rushed to upgrade his long-range weapon mastery 4 times, then loaded his gun and hit every target in 1 perfect shot to prove he was finally a real sharpshooter, only for a new effect called Doom Bullet to activate and send him shouting its name to try it out for free. Shurong felt ashamed and asked if the system was just kidding, thinking he was a superhero yelling attack names, but the system said humans loved shouting their moves as a custom. So Shurong snapped back that it wasn't helping him when he almost died earlier. Then he peeked around to make sure no one was watching, mustered his courage, raised the gun, and dramatically shouted Doom Bullet! Fire! Before pulling the trigger as both sisters stared in awe while the bullet flew across the distance and hit the building opposite them, leaving Shurong frowning. Why did nothing happen? And isn't this just an ordinary bullet? He grumbled while deciding to study its effects more. So the confused girls quietly turned back to their work as Yun suggested they wait and clear out a room for Shurong instead. Shurong asked if she could really carry all that stuff. She laughed it off, saying, "What? This is nothing. This weight is child's play for us evolvers." Shurong repeated with a puzzled grin, while the others explained that becoming one was a rare miracle where survivors could awaken powers through a zombie virus, eating a zombie's core, or drinking special potions, so Yin offered to take him to the main headquarters to trade something for a potion. And Shurong eagerly agreed to go the next morning, even as he worried about why Rua had been staring at him and why she wasn't coming along. As we approached the edge of our base, we were met by a huge horde of zombies, with Yin noting that their numbers were swelling right at the gates and that a cleanup was long overdue. While back at the range, Rua fumed at Chiron and Yin for stopping her from killing him just as the building in front of her suddenly collapsed. She was stunned by the collapse of the building across the street, caused by Chiron's Doom Bullet, while a lone zombie staggered on the quiet streets only to be struck down by Chiron and Yun's hidden dagger, leading Yin to warn Shurong not to waste ammunition in this zombie-heavy area before revealing a secret supply car in a hidden garage that would let them drive the 2.5-hour journey to the Earth Construction Alliance. They rocketed down the road as a horde of zombies chased them, and while Shurong pointed out the threat, Yin calmly assured him they'd shake it off before she warned Shang that even the best evolution potion could kill him, leading Shang to admit he wasn't sure about taking it, but insisted they buy it first, so he could use Yan's guild-like description of the Earth Construction Alliance to build trust before revealing everything. Just as a zombie suddenly grabbed their car window and startled. "Yin!" she yelled, "It's a red zombie!" Confused by how many showed up so fast, she told Shurong to shut the window. He fired back, but the zombies dodged easily until one punched through the roof to grab him. So Shurong shot it while cursing himself for missing his usual target. Yin explained that red zombies dodge bullets, so Chiron sped up while she jumped out the window to fight them head-on, slicing one in half with her blade before another threw her off the car, just as Yin appeared to shout, "Hey, don't hurt my bodyguard," leaving the stunned girl in disbelief that he could kill such monsters. He cleared the zombies in a split second, panting as he admitted it had been a hair's breadth away from disaster before he mocked the red zombie, only to realize how powerful his partner really was. But now that the adrenaline faded and a new horde surrounded them, he had to stop searching for the path and look around in a panic. "Let's go. Drive away." They sprinted toward the car. Zombies swarmed the car, so Yin told Shang to save their bullets while he slammed on the gas, crushing the horde until the underside gave out and they were stuck. With barely 10 regular bullets left, Yin realized he had to use his special Doom Bullet and immediately spent his skill points to buy 7 more, hoping that if they still didn't work, he could escape back to the modern world, all while staring at Yin. If he moved now, she would surely die since she couldn't escape alone. So, Ashur told her the car was strong enough to keep the zombies out for a while, only for Yin to scold him for wasting bullets and explain that keeping one last shot was necessary, just in case she had to shoot herself to avoid being eaten. They kept soaking up water until their skin stretched to its breaking point and finally popped. But they wouldn't die. They would just become even more disgusting, so Yin stopped talking because the smell made her sick and she suddenly pointed outside, shouting that the zombies had turned back into people, which made Rang stare at a swollen zombie and wonder if that was what it looked like when she was alive. And since she seemed about his age, he thought about what Yin would do if the world were normal and she had never had to face this nightmare. Only for her to say she never thought about it and would have become a pastry chef if the zombies hadn't ended it. Though she wasn't sure if that was right for her, while Rang confidently said it suited her perfectly, causing him to realize he couldn't leave her behind and that he must find a way through the horde by using his climbing skills if he rested one more day. Just as lightning suddenly flashed so brightly that Yin noted how dry this place had been for years and how strange this weather was. Then a massive boom shook the air, knocking every zombie down while Shur screamed in shock that lightning must have struck them. So Yin said they had to clear the dead bodies to make a path for their drive. Shur gazed at the horrific mess and shouted, "Wow, it's huge and terrible," before sighing with relief to say they had survived and reached the shelter, where a soldier warned the gatekeeper that a car was arriving, only to find the guard asleep in bed with two girls until shouted awake, who then grumbled about the early visit and sent a guard to ask what they wanted, leading Shuren to quickly explain they were traders seeking to exchange goods rather than seek refuge, prompting the gatekeeper to order them to show their items, after which a soldier presented a food package that another soldier immediately opened. Yuan quickly protested that they hadn't traded yet, but Shurong stepped in to reassure the gatekeeper that tasting the snack was a good idea, which the gatekeeper immediately agreed to after smelling the aroma and finishing the first can, only for Shur to hand him 4 more without hesitation. Yin whispered urgently to Shur, asking if he realized the huge value of 8 cans for trade, while Brother Lo, now full, declared it not bad. The gatekeeper told his men, "I'm about 3/4 full. You can have the rest." And when his men lunged for the last cans and started fighting, he licked his lips, called the meat delicious, promised to report Shang to the Lord, and sent a guard to lead the 2 guests to the shelter where refugees eyed the food greedily while a commotion erupted nearby as a brute beat a crying girl for stealing medicine, claiming it was more precious than food and punishable by death, before Chiron stepped in to plead for mercy and the guard waved them away to keep moving, insisting that outsiders had no business in their justice system. "You little brat, come with me to the justice office so the head judge can decide your fate," the guard declared, only to be told by the city lord that he was too busy to meet them and would see them upstairs tomorrow instead. The next morning, an anxious grandmother wandered the streets asking if anyone had seen her granddaughter, but a rude man snapped at her and stormed off to the mine, leaving the old lady to plead desperately for help describing a girl with a small braid. Yin whispered that this girl must be the one taken to the justice office for stealing medicine, and after the guard confirmed the report, the grandmother collapsed in grief, begging to be arrested instead, so her granddaughter could go free because she only stole the medicine to help her. "That's enough," the guard interrupted as the old lady sobbed, urging them to hurry for the meeting with the Lord. Finally, the guard led Shang and Yin into the city lord's palace and announced their arrival to Lord. "This is delicious," the city lord shouted after slamming down the last can, having already gulped the first one in a single swallow while greedily devouring the rest. "A million times better than the beast meat I eat. How many more do you have? I want them all, and I'll trade anything for them," Shur beamed. "Fantastic, Lord. You truly know quality." The city lord asked what he wanted in return. Shang spoke clearly about zombie cores, evolution potions, and some gold, which left Chu Wong puzzled until the guard explained the gold's purpose, causing Chu Wong to laugh. "Ah, that worthless thing. Sure, we can trade since we have plenty of gold." I ordered the guard to take Shang downstairs to tally the supplies and give him whatever he asks, and a guard acknowledged the order, but just then Shang interrupted to say he had another request, which made the city lord raise an eyebrow and wonder what it could be. Shang explained that a girl had been arrested yesterday for stealing medicine, so he offered to pay triple the value of the supplies and begged the city lord to let her go. Chuang asked if it was true, and the guard confirmed it, adding that Chief Justice Qi had already caught the thief, to which the city lord just shrugged. Xiang promised triple pay, so the city wouldn't lose anything, and he said his guards would take Xiang to the justice office to free the girl after the raid. Xiang gratefully accepted the massive haul of gold, zombie cores, and potions, quickly realizing that selling the metal alone could make him a fortune, while the city lord's release order was the only key to bringing the girl home. Yet as they arrived at the justice office to find a terrified crowd gathered around the dead girl hanging in the air, a stern voice declared that defying the city's protection meant death, leaving the grandmother to wail in despair, while Xiang clutched his crumpled order with a heavy heart. He grumbled in his anger, asking if they were just kidding. That scumbag, what does he think a human life is worth? She stole the medicine just to save her family, but when the Chief Justice saw Chang, he grabbed him by the wrist and twisted it in pain without a second thought. A loud crack echoed as Xiang's bones shattered, But Chief Justice Key said he would let the stranger go since he came from another city. This time, the guard hurriedly stepped in to explain that Xiong was a new merchant and asked the Chief Justice to forgive any slips before Key asked if Xia had come along to help with the trade. Xiong gulped down his fear and asked what had happened, only to learn that Shirao had been caught trying to break into the prison and was furious about the girl's execution, leaving the Chief Justice unsure whether to kill her or let her live. The guard hurriedly told the Chief Justice to calm down, reminding him that the city lord loved these two so much that killing them would ruin his chance to eat their delicious flesh, so they should be kept alive. Right then, Shuang activated his system and spent all his zombie cores, asking how many upgrades he could get with his current skill points, and the system told him he could upgrade 3 levels, so he instantly confirmed the changes. After reaching level 7 and seeing his hand heal instantly with a surge of skill points, Shuang realized he was strong enough to take down Shirao alone, so he decided to use his new speed to snatch Xia and escape before anyone could stop him. He unleashed his super speed climbing, zoomed past the guards holding Shirao, darted right in front of Chief Justice Key, and scaled the building in seconds while shouting, "I'm pulling off a grand escape." After running far enough to feel safe, Shuang finally stopped, panting that he was exhausted, but hoping the guards couldn't catch him. And after Shirao blamed herself for pulling him into the trouble, Shuang comforted her by saying she did nothing wrong and that he should have acted sooner, while Shirao lamented that she was too weak to hold off the guards any longer. Shuang realized how foolish he'd been to think his system could make him a master, only to get crushed by Chief Justice Key right behind him, who beat Shuang and choked Shirao while Shuang secretly drank a painful potion and laughed through the agony, leaving Key to mock him. It was like watching a tiny bug make its last stand. You'd sooner blow yourself up than give in, he joked, but Shirao was fuming and stuck, while Shuang's eyes turned blood red as flashbacks of his past rushed back, showing a teacher slapping him for fighting back against bullies and his father scolding him for bringing shame to the family by being born but not raised right. Shuang was fired for standing up to the boss who asked women to drink with customers, but after getting brutally beaten while defending a harassed woman, a kind stranger offered him a home and cooking that made him dream of baking, only for the story to snap back to reality where Chief Justice Key revealed she wouldn't kill him because taking down the city lord suppliers would ruin her instead. "Your face is pretty, but if you don't behave, I'll cut your tendons and bring you to the city lord to be a plaything." Suddenly, Shuang grabbed Chief Justice Key's hand and leg to stand up, growled that he wouldn't leave, then yanked him forward to punch his face again and again until the ground cracked and Key was covered in blood. As Shirao gasped in horror, thinking Shuang had died, but realizing he had evolved, Shuang wiped blood from his chin to say he wasn't easy to kill. Then Chief Justice Key roared, drove his hand straight through Shuang's chest, and screamed in horror, but Shuang calmly looked at him and said, "Well done," confirming his evolution even as he died. Despite being impaled, Key scoffed that Shuang was only a level 1 evolver and doubted if such a low level could defeat him. But Shuang gritted his teeth and burst with powerful energy that made Key shout in disbelief this golden abyssal physique should only belong to a level 10 Almer, a truth that left him absolutely stunned. Moments later, Chief Justice Kitz sprinted toward the gateway in pure panic, having just seen Shuang wield this rare power, which he knew was real because he had only witnessed it once before. As Kitz fled, Shuang pointed a finger and unleashed an attack that chased him down, catching up and striking him head-on until the impact erased him completely. Meanwhile, the city lord sensed the disturbance from 10 miles outside and felt an overwhelming, unnatural force near Faction 17, prompting his aide to urge him to hurry, while the lord admitted that the power felt wrong and terrifyingly strong. Back at the climber's location, a woman asked Shuang if he had felt that same crushing pressure earlier. Everyone was shocked by the huge power Shuang had unleashed, so Xiao urgently told him to stay awake and promised to fix him right away. But when she checked his wound, she panicked because the bleeding wouldn't stop until Shuang's own body reacted to halt it, leaving her relieved yet worried as she insisted they needed a doctor immediately just as the city lord arrived, wondering why such a powerful fighter was near his town and hoping they hadn't offended him, all while a metal gate shook violently at 4 o'clock when a woman tried to open it before someone impatient outside kicked it open and revealed it was Xiao. She spotted her instantly, screamed Xiao's name, and yelled that she had to pay for the broken door, but Shirao just waved off the anger, grabbed her hand, and rushed her to save Shuang. The doctor started checking Shuang's wounds and looked confused, muttering that something was very strange about his vitals. When asked what was wrong, he admitted Shuang wasn't fine, but he also wasn't dying, so he decided to bandage the cuts for now after discovering that a large patch of metal covered the injury and had somehow kept Shuang alive in a way the doctor had never seen before. Shirao worried about Shuang's safety, but the doctor refused to promise and insisted they keep Shuang there to watch him closely, while in another scene, Group 17's leader demanded his team punch him in revenge for all the times he bullied them, insisting they hit him hard to blow off steam and promising he wouldn't hold a grudge. They agreed, and within moments, a barrage of punches rained down on him, leaving the boss internally cursing the hard hits while silently vowing to show them who was in charge later, only to immediately walk into a doctor's clinic and claim another injury, earning a sigh from the doctor, who noted this was his third visit that month, to which the man simply replied that his job made such injuries unavoidable. Just then, Xiao stepped out of the next room and went still, recognizing the man instantly as the one who had threatened and attacked them before. She wondered why someone like him was here, fearing he would discover their hiding spot and send men to surround the clinic. So she rushed to escape, just as the doctor tried to stop a furious leader from shooting wounded patients in his clinic after learning Shuang and Xiao had killed his brothers, only for Shuang to wake up inside the room and receive shocking news that he had instinctively sacrificed 3 years of his life to evolve into a perfect evolver after defeating a stronger enemy. While a mysterious voice promised him that this trial would make him even stronger and unlock new system powers before the doctor marveled at how Shuang's wounds had completely healed in just 1 day. Shirao worriedly waited for Shuang to wake up, relieved when he finally stirred, joked with the doctor, got dressed, and explained that he had only played it safe after taking a heavy blow to his organs. Shuang stepped up to face the enemies alone, turning Xiao down when she offered to help him heal, since he was sure he could handle them all by himself while she stayed behind to tend to wounds. One member urged Brother Song to rush in and kill the two, but Song refused, reminding them of his promise to the doctor and ordering them to stay put. Another member then noted that the resource station said the doctor would be out buying medicine that afternoon, suggesting they use that chance to slip into the clinic and kill Shuang and Shirao before claiming they had run off on their own so the doctor wouldn't blame them. And Song agreed the plan made sense and decided to proceed, ordering everyone to grab their weapons to kill the guy, but capture the girl alive. When a member asked why Brother Song was still messing around after Dr. Shia's warning, Song dismissed the concern as a separate issue and said it was fine to keep her unaware. But just then the door opened, and Shuang walked out standing in front of all the men, declaring there was no need for them to come inside because he had come out himself, which made the members curse in shock that he dared to show up alone. Shuang fired up his special power and quickly checked out his enemies. Most of them were weak level 1 evolvers, except for Song, who was a level 3, but Shuang quickly figured out he had a 90% chance of winning. So in the blink of an eye, he unleashed his power and knocked all of them out instantly. Only Song remained standing due to his level 3 strength. Song stared in disbelief, asking how Shuang had powered up so fast. The last time he had seen him, Shuang was just a weak, ordinary human. Shuang replied that if he had used actual weapons, all of them would have been dead in those few seconds. However, since Song had held back yesterday, Shuang offered him another chance. Kneel down, bark like a dog, and call him Grandpa. Only then, Shuang said, might he let him go. The scene then shifted as Shuang visited the merchant he had first traded with. The merchant presented a selection of goods and said this was all he could gather for now, asking Shuang to check if it matched what he wanted. Shuang handed him food and confirmed that this was exactly the gold he needed, offering Ken in exchange. The merchant thanked him, and Shuang told him to keep helping him find gold, promising that he would always receive Ken for his efforts. The merchant, confused, wondered why Shuang needed gold, thinking that the common currency these days should be zombie corpses. Shuang then acquired a total of 20 kilograms of